Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Veksler. I'm the director of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and we are here with answers for allies. We are in Friends of Zion Museum with a great person, Moshe Gold, an educator, photographer, a tour guide, and I just wanted to talk with you about how did October 7 meet you?
Wow. It met me strongly and dramatically because 2 days before that, my wife and I and our two twin daughters, Shai and Kalmi, were in a vacation in Europe, in Slovenia, Croatia, a little bit of Italy, sitting by a beautiful lake. We couldn't imagine that 2 days later, as we came home, this would be happening. But nevertheless, on Shabbat morning, on Saturday morning, we heard the siren. We don't have a shelter in our house. Some people that live closer to the Gaza envelope, all the kibbutzim, the moshavim, the Jewish communities outside of Gaza in the state of Israel, they have shelters in their homes that they could run into. We tried to go to the most secure part of our house. I live just outside of Jerusalem in a little community. And I didn't really feel safe. It's the first time we had this with our two 16-month-old babies.
Wow.
Who were a little bit upset and worried about the siren, so we tried to calm them down, and it didn't stop. So we ended up getting into the car and driving a few minutes away to our distant relatives that do have a shelter. And we spent the whole day there, really not understanding what's going on, because we're used to the fact that if there is a siren, it's usually by the Gaza envelope Jewish settlements outside of Gaza and not by Jerusalem. So, you have a minute and a half to decide where you're going to hide, literally protect your kids and your family.
And especially with your 16-month-old twins, I mean, it's a challenge.
It definitely was a challenge. It definitely made us think twice about what we were doing, where should we be, and when the sirens didn't stop, and later on I saw this one photo on the news of a Toyota truck in the middle of an Israeli city called Sderot. That was pretty dramatic. I understood that I'm not going to be guiding that day. I was supposed to guide a group from Tel Aviv, only two adults, Americans, they wanted to go to Masada, the fortress in the desert. And I said to them, okay, you'll come with your driver through my area. I'll get on the car. We'll go down to Masada. Well, I called him up and said, make a U-turn and go back to your hotel and stay in the hotel. Even in Tel Aviv, there were sirens at 6:30 in the morning on October 7th, Saturday, and they just didn't stop. That tour canceled. Our whole reality changed that morning.
Well, and I don't even know how it will ever be normal, quote unquote, normal back again. But thinking about you as a tour guide,
yeah.
I mean, so what do? There's no tours, there's no tourists coming, are there?
Right. Tourism is non-existent. There is no tourism right now. There are some solidarity groups coming, Jewish rabbis and priests and, different religions coming to Israel to kind of like say, we stand with Israel, but the numbers are very, very small. After the years of COVID, of Corona, where we were totally shut down, and that was a huge crisis, my first thought, I'm like, oh my God, not again. Tour guides and tour educators like myself, I've been in this field for 21 years. I've been a director in a tourism organization, educator, a tour guide for many, many groups and families. This is our passion. It's not only the economy. Of course, I have to put, bread on, I have to bring money home to support my family, but it's not only that, it's part of who we are. I love what I do. So to go into this kind of crisis is very, very difficult, but I have to say, for me, that's the little part, the small part, not that it's not important, it's very important, but there's people that went through so much suffering and devastation that I'm like, okay, we'll get through this, we'll stay active, this will pass, we will overcome, and we will.
You're absolutely right. We talk about, how much is it, 1,216 who lost their lives in the most dramatic and tragic circumstances, slaughtered, burnt. I mean, we can't even process the pain of the loved ones, or, I mean, thinking of the hostages or all of what is going on in the land. It is really a horrible trauma for the society, and I think it's going to be there for years to come. But as you say, we have to overcome. You are also a photographer. I've seen some of your photos, and this is just work of art, what you are producing. So maybe tell us a little bit more of that.
Okay. Well, I've been into photography and an enthusiast of photography for many, many years. When I was 18 years old, I was done with my high school. I was ready to go into the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, for my 3-year service. But before that, I did a gap year volunteer year in a field school up north in the Golan Heights by Syria. And there, the passion for photography at that beautiful piece of land at the Golan, volcanic land, flowers, a lot of different animals and beautiful landscape. There it started coming out. I got my first really nice camera and I went on from there. Now I'm doing a lot of drone photography. I go down to the Dead Sea, and the best time of day to do all this photography is, I mean, look at my eyes when I'm talking. This is really what I love, is the golden hour, right? So I go, right before sunset and right after sunrise and before sunrise. Those are the hours where I'm out in nature, or sometimes even in the old city of Jerusalem, getting those magical moments into pictures, into photos.
They definitely are the most beautiful moments. I mean, Jerusalem has I think it's only a few minutes. It lasts a few minutes and it lights up in this golden light and shining. And of course, Dead Sea, one of my most really favorite places in Israel. It's amazing what you have been producing, and I understand. I mean, some of my friends who saw your pictures, they already purchased some of the photos.
Right.
So we're happy that they will be in their new beautiful home in Utah. Right. But bringing a piece of Israel to your home, that's also quite a
right.
thing in itself.
Yeah, I've been doing a couple different, teaching a few different Zoom sessions, and people keep saying in these sessions, whether they're Christian or Jewish, lovers of Zion, right? Mm-hmm. They're saying, what can we do? How can we help? We gave money to our federation, we gave money through our church, what can we do? How do we connect better? So one thing is just being on that Zoom and hearing from someone that actually lives here, that's going through this from firsthand. But yes, I think a lot of people found, I'm going to give my loved ones a gift from Israel, something that I find special, another way to physically bring into your house and into your thoughts. So I think that's one of those ways. One of the things that I really worked on a couple years ago when there was another stop with tourism during COVID was a exhibit in the Jerusalem Cinematheque, which I really love. It's right outside the Old City by the walls of Jerusalem. And I called that exhibit From the Beginning. But I like the translation to Hebrew a little bit better because the word is Mi Bereshit. Bereshit is from the Hebrew Bible.
Genesis.
Right, Genesis, the book of Genesis. From the beginning, from Genesis, and it talked about these raw, beautiful country areas of Israel. We're a very small country, but there's so much variety in this. It takes 6 hours to go from Eilat down in the south up north to Mount Hermon, but there's snow and there's a desert and there's seas and lakes and deserts. It's really a great place
beautiful.
to be.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, during the COVID years, one thing that we started doing with my wife was that we started visiting these kibbutzim, the moshavim, the little towns, little kibbutzes next to Jerusalem, and this was something we did. This was the time that we had a spare time suddenly that you could walk and get to know these beautiful places. And many of the tourists, when they come, they only have these specific, Christian tour, holy places they visit, or the Jewish holy places, depending on which tour you're on. But they really don't see the land. They really don't see this, the beauty, all the beauty of this small but very unique country.
right? I mean, one of the things I always say on my tours, to any kind of group, that this is a taste of Israel. Mm-hmm. It's a small country. Many people leave the land and say, okay, check, I did it, I've seen it. Well, Israel is about its views, about its sites, about its communities, and more than anything else, my feeling, and that's a big emphasis of what I'm trying to promote and show people when they come to Israel, is first of all, there's so much more to see. You're saying only a taste. I want you to come back. But number two, Israel is about the people. This war is about the people. Yeah. This whole situation is about people and their ideologies. I want people, when they come to Israel, to feel the holiness, to feel the land, to touch the land physically. But I want them to meet the people, because that's what it makes it what it is, really.
But you also come from a religious family. Your father, a conservative rabbi. I'm sure that he was able to tell all of these Bible stories to you and make this part of your life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, where my dad was a pulpit rabbi in a congregation called Beth El. When I was a year old, I'm the youngest of four children, we made Aliyah. Aliyah meaning a spiritual elevation, going up towards Israel. So we made Aliyah to Israel when I was a year old. I grew up with the stories of the Bible. But when I grew up in Beersheba, I grew up in the city of Abraham. And I literally walked in the footsteps of Abraham growing up. In fact, on one of the holiest days of the year, on Rosh Hashanah, we actually used to go to the well of Abraham, the patriarch, and throw our sins with stones or whatever we took out of our pockets and say, okay, we're done with last year. Let's start with the new year, Tashlich, right?
Exactly. So, but again, I mean, you as a tour guide, of course, Bible is the best guidebook.
Right.
You open the Bible and there are the stories, and now you see the 3D, and full color version of what you read in the Bible. So I think this is something that is so helpful in your work as a guide.
100%, and I actually like the physical feeling of walking around with the Bible, walking around, reading the stories, reading the text in seat, on the place itself. I'm walking in the Negev desert. Why not read something about Abraham, about Isaac, who wandered these areas thousands of years ago? City of David, there's no better story than that. You got to open, the holy book and actually be able to read those stories while you're walking through the ruins.
But I understand you also walked through the whole land of Israel during the COVID years, did you?
Yeah, well, it's one of the best things I've done through COVID. Well, the best thing I've done through COVID is I got married.
Oh,
yes, and to Virid, my wife, who works, here in Jerusalem. And we decided that since we were only allowed by law to have 50 people in our chuppah, in our wedding canopy, the celebration, the ceremony, we would go to the Jerusalem forest, to the mountains of Judah. And that's what we did.
Smart.
Only our small families in the middle of the mountains, sun coming down. That Beautiful. Was what I always wanted. Of course, a month later, we had to have a big party. She wouldn't give up on that. So that was a good decision. We had another wedding, so to call, a month later. But I did walk the land, and this is right actually before we got married. I walked the Israel Trail, 680 miles from up north down to Eilat to the Red Sea. The last day was unbelievable, walking through the desert from the border of Egypt, the Sinai Desert, all the way downhill, these beautiful black granite hills, some limestone and
the colors are
the
amazing.
The colors of the sandstone, walking into the Red Sea itself, just like the people of Israel so many years ago.
How long did it take you?
So it took me more or less 6 weeks. There were a few stops along the way. I did some photography, but more than anything, on Shvil Israel, the path of Israel, or the Israel Trail, you meet people. You have trail angels that you can stay in their homes. They host you, no money. They want to meet you. They want to host you. They want this trail to not only be about the physical land, but meeting the community. So I stayed in some of those. One of them is my sister Shira, who lives in a little community outside of Beersheba, Sansana. And she hosts people every day that are walking through this trail, all the way from the north down south to the Red Sea.
That's quite an experience. I've done some of it, a few days. I mean, we did it, in the Galilee.
Yeah.
But I'm yet to follow your steps in taking the Israel Trail. But you also, during this time, I mean, the war and this horrible tragedy that has fallen upon us. I mean, we didn't choose this. We didn't plan this. It was not in our calendars. It just blew up all of our plans and everything we were, scheduling. But I've tried to, be a voice, give answers for our allies, and that's what our program is called. You've been talking to some students at Yale University.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I actually spoke to them earlier this week. Well, that was a really special thing that I did this week, and I was preparing for this to meet a group that I guided in Israel 2 years ago on a specific program called iTrack, and they bring Jews and non-Jews that are students, graduate students in Yale, really bright, interested, interesting, special people that are interested in Israel, that visited here already, and I was giving them a briefing, not only about the political situation and what's going on, but really about, how does an Israeli citizen feel right now in Israel? There were some interesting questions. I was expecting it. And I think in a time of war, more than anything, if you're just going to stay and scroll on your social media, you're not really going to know a lot. You'll think that you know a lot, but you have to meet the people. You can meet a few people, but talk to the people that actually live there and ask them for their experiences. That's what we were doing for about an hour and a half. And it was actually very interesting. I think that it was a positive session. I think that we ended with this kind of like prayer and hope, first of all, for those hostages that were evilly taken to these dungeons underground. You probably feel this as well, but Israelis, myself, we wake up every morning thinking, is this a nightmare or is this real? I can't even believe we're talking about 238 hostages somewhere in Gaza.
I mean, you have 16-month-old twins. I mean, you have similar aged children in Gaza taken as hostages. I mean, can you imagine even what these kids are going through?
Unbelievable. I mean, Kfir from Kibbutz Nir Oz is 9 months old. He's down in the dungeons of Gaza. They didn't care when they came into our kibbutzim, into our communities, if it was a soldier in the homes of the kibbutzniks or guarding the border, if it was elderly people, a man, a woman. Kfir is a baby, and his brother is 4 years old, and with their 2 parents, they're hostages in Gaza. Bring them back.
Well, Hamas people, they said there are no civilians in Israel. I mean, for them, this 9-month-old Kfir is not a civilian. Can you imagine that?
Right.
They consider him as a combat unit fighter. 9-month-old. Well, maybe he will become a combat unit fighter. I think he has a good chance for that. But I want to see him out.
Right.
I mean, it's such a pain I cannot even fathom how they have been able to live with the parents or the immediate family of those who are taken as hostages.
I mean, on Shabbat morning, Saturday morning, I got up, I left my family and drove to a junction outside of Jerusalem called Chemed, and I started marching with the families of the hostages, right? These 238 families are marching toward Jerusalem. They're not suggesting a specific deal. They're basically just keeping this, everybody should be thinking about this. The decision makers, the cabinet, the prime minister, the minister of defense, everybody should be thinking about this. But what I felt I was doing, and this was very meaningful for me, was I was just there to hug those families and to cry out with them now. We want them back now. Now, is it going to happen now? I don't know. Some things, I don't know the bigger plan here. But I pray every morning and every moment of the day that these civilians of Israel, soldiers, regular people from the kibbutzim will be brought back home very soon to their families. We are their family.
Well, I understand that this march of the hostage families was really a historic and very, very moving moment. Right. So It's amazing that you were part of it.
Yeah.
Now, as a tour guide, how can people contact you?
How can people contact me? Well, in a few different ways. I'm very active on Facebook. My name is Moshe Gold, M-O-S-H-E, Gold, G-O-L-D. And I have a website, and it's interestingly called followmoses.com, right? Moshe, followmoses.com. All my contacts are there. And I also, the whole photography gallery that I put up right now, a lot of it is in those two different areas on Facebook and on the website.
Because I believe that they will come a day after. And I know many of my friends, many of those who are watching us, I know some will come as volunteers, some will come and have planned their tours and have planned their visits to Israel. The day after, it will come, and we need your help to build up the torn down communities and to comfort those who have lost their loved ones. And we need your help more than we can even say right now. But as a token of their love to Israel, they can also have these high quality, high resolution photos of these golden moments that you've taken. Where can people find these galleries?
So a lot of that is just, there's a link on my Facebook page, Moshe Gold, but you can also just go into the website, followmoses.com, and once you go in there, you'll contact me. I'll send you all the information, the whole gallery. And it could be a small print, a big print, and printed on HD metal or acrylic or anything else. I do just want to reply to what you were saying before about people coming back here. I know they're going to come back. They are going to come back, and you should know, I want to say this to you because I'm also saying it to myself, we're going to overcome this. So many times during our history, people were out there, to get us. Hamas had it on its charter. Not to have a ceasefire, that's what they keep asking for. If they wanted a ceasefire, they had it up until October 7th. They had a ceasefire, but then they did what they did. So they are trying to totally obliterate and move us out of this land, kill us, right? We're not gonna give them our throat anymore. That's it, we're done with that. Tourists are gonna be back, Israel's gonna be back to normal, quiet times will come. But we need your prayers, we need your solidarity. And I'm very honored to be here, frankly, Albert, to speak to this whole crowd and to yourself.
Thank you, and I really believe that this is one of the things you can do. Yes, to get this beautiful photos from Israel to your home. Maybe it would be a beautiful gift over Thanksgiving. Maybe it would be something for the Christmas that you would want to bring, something from the heart of Israel, something that touches us here and will touch your hearts over there where you live. And so why not support Moshe? Why not purchase these photos? Why not visit his website? We will place it right under this post. Also, you will be able to click on the link and just see it firsthand. And let's pray that the day after will come sooner than many think, because at this current stage, people are talking about a long run, a marathon. Now, again, Israel, even during the war, delivers. Israel during the war is producing. Israel has even been, trained throughout the wars to continue to function as a startup nation, as a country that produces so many solutions in areas that this world is needing. And so Israel is here to stay. You can read it in the Bible. Israel is forever. The moon and the sun and the stars will lose its power first, and then maybe God says it. Then if they the moons and sun will no longer shine, Israel will quit being a nation before him. But Israel is forever. We know this. It's clear in the Bible. Amos says that when the outcasts of Israel are coming back, they are here not to be uprooted ever. So we know your support is important for us, and we know also that the blessing is coming back to you, because the Bible says very clearly that if you bless the seed of Abraham, you will be blessed. I mean, God, when he chose Abraham, chose also to bless the nations. He thought about all the nations. He thought about you. And so praying for the peace of Jerusalem will bring a blessing also over your home, over your life. And maybe a few thoughts from you, Moshe, before we close this session.
When I finish my tour in Masada, down by the Dead Sea, I see all this beautiful photo in back of us of the desert. The Dead Sea has this fortress called Masada. And other than floating in the Dead Sea, you go up to Masada and learn about one of the revolts that we had against the Romans. The Romans wanted to take over. Well, there's no Romans anymore in Israel, right? Israel is here. So at the end of the tour, as a reminder to ourselves and to the entire world, we yell out from the mountains of Masada, and we say it in our heart as well. 3 words only: Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live. So we're not in Masada right now, but it's a reminder to ourselves. This is only a part of a very long process of the people of Israel, of the land of Israel, the state of Israel, and definitely all the lovers of Israel. So Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai, and the keeper of Israel will never slumber nor sleep. So thank you for watching us today. Thank you for tuning in. Every day, 1 o'clock Jerusalem time, we'll be sending these answers for our allies. And remember, those who bless Israel, those who pray for the peace of Jerusalem, will prosper.